I've wanted to make a mandala flower for a very long time, and I finally got around doing it, and so I thought I'd share that process with you. So the first thing is getting your base strings on. So I've chosen white for my base, and then once you tape that down, you do a lark's head knot with another white string. And then you just take your colors, and I chose 6 different colors. So I chose 3 shades of yellow, 2 shades of green, and then blue. And then of course the white for my base. And so you just start off with your colors, you just tie them on top of the string, and you tie them all in the order that you want to put them in. So I did my yellows from lightest to the darkest shade, then I did my greens, and then finally my blue. The mandala itself is actually quite a simple process, and then once you make the base, you can kind of get creative with how you want to continue on with your mandala. I did mine pretty basic, but I'll definitely have some ideas for future mandalas that I want to make. So once you have all your strings together, you're going to go to the first color that you tied. So for me it was the light yellow, and you're going to forward knot it on top of the white base string. And then you go to the other side, you take the same color, and you backwards knot it on the white base string. And then you just tie those 2 strings together. So the 2 yellows at the center, you're going to tie it together. And you're kind of forming this chevron shape. And this chevron, every time you add a new color on, kind of grows a little bit bigger, which allows the petal shape to form. So next up, we're going to do the same thing, but with the next color in line. So for me, it was my medium yellow. And again, you start off with the white, you forward knot it, and then this time we're also going to forward knot it to whatever other color is next. So the yellow, the light yellow that we had from before. And we do the same thing to the other side, forming this chevron shape and making sure to tie the 2 yellows together at the end. Now I'm not sure if you're noticing my little mistake that I did. Again, this was my first mandala, so of course I'll make some mistakes. But I accidentally chose the wrong shade of yellow on the other side. If you notice, it's a little bit darker than the left side. But I thought it's okay because, it's not super duper noticeable, especially because I'm going to have multiple petals, so I can hide the mistake a little bit. I didn't want to go back and undo the knots. It takes too long. So then I continued. I chose the next color in line, the darker yellow. And again, I just chevroned it all the way down to the middle. And I'm just going to continue doing that with the rest of the colors as well. So the light green, the dark green, and the blue. As I was knotting it with the color choice, I really thought it looked kind of like a peacock feather, which also gave me ideas on ways that maybe you can structure these petals to not necessarily look like a flower, but maybe like a little fan, so that you can make a peacock tail. I thought that would be very pretty, but a possibility maybe for a future project. And now that the green is done, it's on to the last color, the blue. And it just chevrons all the way down, starting with the white. Now you might be wondering, there is technically a seventh color, the white. And yes, I am going to get to using it, but not quite right away. I'm going to use it at the very end when the entire flower is complete, all the petals. And then I'll use the white to kind of create a border all around the flower. And there it is. We're done the first petal. Look how pretty it turned out. It's really giving peacock feather. I just cannot get rid of that thought. So now what we do is we just put down the base string, and then I just repeat the process. I tape down my white string, and then I repeated the exact same process again to make a second petal. And then once that petal is done, you can shimmy it over, you can slide it over to the first petal, and you can kind of start to see the flower form. Look at that, we got 2 petals down. So I did another one, a third one, and then a fourth one. And maybe you can notice my little mistake here. I did my fourth one on the wrong side, so it's looking weird. But a little flip can hide that mistake. No one will notice. And it won't really affect the flower much. Now, I thought that I was going to do 6 petals originally, but then once I finished my 4th petal, it looked like I didn't have much space for a 6th one, so I decided to do my 5th. And if you noticed, for my 5th petal, instead of adding a new white string as a base, you just use your 2 original white strings that you were tying with, and you do your last petal on them. So then the white string is disappeared. And now we're on to the white. So I mentioned that you actually do use the white to do kind of like a border. And the white string will help us connect the petals together. So I've taken the 2 white strings that are now adjacent to each other from the 2 different petals. I've tied them on top of each other, and then I chevroned it all the way down to the bottom of the petal. So that's what I did all around the flower. So the 2 white adjacent strings, you tie them on top of each other, and then you chevron them down the petals. And I did that all around my bracelet so that it's all nice and connected. Now, as I did this part, I noticed some gaps happening and forming possibly because I should have probably added a 6th petal. When I hold my flower up to you guys to see, you'll notice there are quite a few gaps between the petals, but I think it's cute. It's fine. And some of the strings have a bit of gaps between them, but that's fine. So then after I finished my flower, I decided to kind of do a triangular chevron between the petals. So just tying the 2 lightest yellows together and then chevroning the medium yellows down that, and then just kind of doing a regular chevron pattern in between those petals. While I was doing it though, I did notice those gaps, and I really tried to have the medium approach with how tight I am pulling, because if I pull too tight to get rid of the gaps, then all of a sudden my flower is going to have a bowl shape to it because there's too much tension. So, but then if I
pull too loose, and the gaps are going to be way too big. So I kind of tried to go as much in the middle as I could, so that, yes, there are some gaps, but the knots are still sitting nice and close to each other. And I kept like pressing my flower down every now and then to make sure that it's still laying flat. And then I did my light green, and then the light green was actually the last color I decided to end with. I didn't want to go beyond that. I could have, but I decided I'll just do the light green as my last color. Now, originally when I wanted to make the mandala, I thought it would make a really cute coaster. But as I was knotting it, I realized that it was just way too small to be an actual coaster. I'd have to figure out a way to make this pattern in a way that kind of makes it bigger. So maybe adding an extra petal or so. So then once I finished that triangle, I just kept rotating, and I did these chevron triangles all around. And at that point, I decided that the flower was done. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really cute. Despite the gaps and all, it's still like super delicate, super small. I'm not sure if the camera shows truly how small it is in real life. So then I just cut all the excess string, and there was a lot of it. So when I started making the project, I always think more string or longer string is better than short string, and then you have to figure out how to add extra string. But I realized that it was way more than I needed, so lots of scrap string from this project. And then I just cut my strings shorter. Now, of course, you could leave two ends long. If you do two opposite ends, you can make it into a bracelet. If you do two ends that are close to each other, you can make it into a necklace. But I just thought I'd make a patch-looking thing. Look at how cute it turned out. And this is it compared to a coaster. So yeah, it was way too small to be a coaster, but still very cute. You could give this a little press with an iron to help it sit down more flat. And thank you for watching this video.